Stocky, why is the stock market down? Why is inflation up? Why does the economy? Why is everybody out of work? What the hell is going on? Real quick, what is the Federal Reserve? It is a shadow agency that is in charge of money. It is in charge of how much money is borrowed at, how much money there is, money in circulation, buying up debt to give you IOUs. They are called Federal Reserve, but they are not federal at all. In fact, they are as federal as the FedEx, okay? Not federal. Federal in name only, okay? The chairman, in other words, the mouthpiece, is Jerome Powell. Praise be his name, all hail. As we can see, we have him, St. Powell, behind us, okay? All right, him and the Treasury, okay? This is the Treasury. This is the federal part of it that's actually in charge of printing the money and in charge of dealing with the money. They have the Secretary of the Treasury that is appointed by the president. Now, for those of you guys who are wondering, hey, Stucky, I didn't ask, but you're going to tell me anyways. Who was the first president, the Secretary of Treasury? That was Alexander Hamilton. You know, the guy in the $10 bill, the guy who was shot by Aaron Burr, that guy. Okay, right now it is an older lady named Janet Yellen. You might be saying to yourself, hey, wait a second. I've heard her name before. Yes, she used to be the president of the Federal Reserve or the chairman of the Federal Reserve. How interesting. Kind of fun how that kind of works. They are at a desk right now sitting in front of Congress testifying. Okay? There's a mic and there's her mic that doesn't seem to work. Okay? They're in front of Congress and they are testifying. They're answering questions. What are they answering questions about? About what you're probably wondering about. And what are you wondering about? Stocky, why is the stock market down? Why is inflation up? Why does the economy? Why is everybody out of work? What the hell is going on? It seems like everything's fine by if I watch TV and everything, or if I see that, but why is everything going to shit right now? Why does it seem like just as I was so close to being able to buy a house that they said I'd never be able to afford, housing prices skyrocketed, and now I'm just fucked? Why is this happening? Let's go back in time to January of 2020. COVID, part 1. Ravaged, went through Asia, then to Europe, then the US. The markets were not prepared for it. It came to a screeching halt. Your stock market dropped, okay? They had to stop the dropping. They had to stop it before it was too much, okay? What did the Fed do? The Federal Reserve, remember that private institution that does that? Basically said, hey, US government, you need money to stop this from going further? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to buy up a bunch of your assets. First, they started with repos. They basically were lending money and then getting the money back, and the people that borrowed it got to keep it. So they said, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to lower interest rates because we need money to be cheaper. We want more people to borrow money. We need cheaper money, right? So if you're going to borrow $100,000 to expand your business, but it's going to cost you 3% interest, that's a lot of interest you're going to pay back. But if it's at 0% interest, okay, cool. That stimulates the economy. More people borrow money, more people spend that money, and that money purchases houses because mortgage rates go down. It expands business. It hires people. That's all great in a normal economic pullback like in 2008. But in this case, you couldn't get people to go back to work because everybody was locked down and quarantined in their house. So then comes in the PPP. So the government says, hey, we are going to incentivize businesses to keep their employees on. We're going to give them money that's going to be forgivable. They're not going to have to pay it back if they keep their employees on. This got completely corrupted, okay? Got completely corrupted and was all fucked. So then the government said, shit, now we need to give unemployment benefits because a lot of people are out of work a lot longer than we think. So on top of your state unemployment benefits, we're going to give federal unemployment benefits and enhanced federal unemployment benefits to the tune of around $50,000 per year, right? Well, the government needs that money from somewhere. So they go to the Federal Reserve. Okay, this is the Illuminati one, remember? They go to the Federal Reserve and they say, hey, can we borrow some money? And the Federal Reserve goes, sure. What's your collateral? Well, we've got some Treasury bills because our credit's really good, and we've got some mortgage-backed securities. You know, the ones that went under in 2008 that caused the crash. Yeah, we'll take those. How much you need? About $120 billion a month. Okay, cool. And so they start giving them all that debt at 0% interest, and then they take that money and they inject it in the economy. Well, now you've got a problem. The market gapped back up because money filled in that hole. But the market is not the economy, okay? The market is not the economy. All right? So what happened? We just kept going along. Hey, vaccines are coming out. Yay, everybody's getting vaccinated. So we just kept going and going and going. But we also noticed something else was happening. People were not going back to work. If anything, people were leaving their jobs. At the tune of 4 million people per month were walking away from their jobs. So why does that matter? Well, when you're printing money and you're giving money, injecting into the economy, inflation will go up, which is fine because as long as employment's going up, it kind of keeps in line. It brings the inflation level down because even though prices are rising, income is rising, or the amount of people working is rising, meaning more people have money to spend, meaning that even though the cost of goods are going up, more money is being spent, and it kind of flatlines it. The problem is that the inflation, the amount of money keeps going up, but the workforce is going down. So now you're creating a bubble. Well, what happens is you have to stop all of that money printing because if not, you're going to get to a point where you get to the point of no return. Now, the Fed had said, if inflation is just transitory. It's just up and it's going to go back down. Well, now they're still saying it's going to go up and it's going to go down, but it's going to go up and it's going to go down over a longer period of time. So now we're at a point where they're like, oh, crap, we're going to stop tapering. What does tapering mean? We're going to go from 120 billion a month to 105 billion a month to 80 billion a month until we get to a relatively good level. The problem is that all this shit has been happening. They had to keep pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off. So instead of doing this gradual decline over the course of 1 year, they're probably going to have to do it over the course of 4 months, which means a significant decrease in the amount of money flowing in for everybody to use. So you might be saying to yourself, well, that's a good thing, Stocky. That's going to help us not go into hyperinflation down the line. It is good. But in the short term, the stock market doesn't like that. And then what's the second level of things that we need to do? Remember that beginning when we said all of the money, they lower the interest rates and make money really cheap, right? Really free, not free, but like no interest. Like imagine getting a student loan. They said, hey, there's no interest on it. Fuck yeah, let's go to college, right? Yeah, they can't do that forever because they need to control the money supply. So they're going to have to raise those interest rates, meaning everyone stops borrowing money. And if people stop borrowing money, what does that do? That slows the economy down. Now, if you have full employment and you have people working and you have imports and exports and buying and selling and businesses open and expanding, then you don't need to worry about the interest rate because you don't need as many people to borrow money because everybody's making money because it's a big economy. So you're tapering and you're raising rates because you need to protect the long term of the economy. Everyone's trying to guess when that is. But you're saying to yourself, okay, at least we have an idea. We have an idea. We know when this is going to happen. Let's price it in. The market will probably flatline for a while. We're good. Yes. Until a new COVID strain shows up. Well, normally, it is what it is, right? We'll see. We'll wait for the information to come out and everything will be fine. Well, no. Why? Because of a few things. Number one, FUD. Why FUD? Well, the news cycle doesn't have the Kyle Rittenhouse trial or the Ahmaud Arbery trial to go on. And all the other big news cycle stuff is pushed off. Biden's not really getting into any controversy right now. So we need headlines. And we are going to run the shit out of this story. If we can get people to click on our story. What is the one thing that drives clicks and allows for people's total attention? I'm not going to say the word control because that's a different conversation. Fear. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that this new variant isn't crazy bad or good or is weak. We haven't had a chance to look at it yet. So we've got the FUD and all the headlines going, and then what did they do this morning? They had there was an interview with the CEO of Moderna, which is, for those of you guys who don't know, is one of the big vaccine makers. And out of their long interview, they took one quote where Moderna CEO said that they talked to their scientists, and the quote that they got was that the scientists said that this does not look good at all. Guess what your headlines run the next day? So combine all that, and that is why the market has taken a shit the last couple days, ever since Friday. Now, once again, the market is not the economy. If anything, we're seeing market reaction outside of the new variant. We're seeing the reaction due to the tapering and the rates is actually good for the long-term economy. We might actually start seeing longer-term Treasury yields go up because bond yields go up because there's a recovery potential. All right. Now I know you're thinking, wait, he shaved. He doesn't look like Charlie Day with his whiteboard. Good. We are a very globalized economy now, okay? Very globalized economy. There is a lot, it's a lot different. The world is a lot different. We are much more intertwined and much more global, okay? The concern is right now the biggest thing, at least in America, is employment. And obviously, the people walking away at 4 million people per month walking away from their jobs right now is massive, because it's good for the health of the workers. Because what's going to happen is businesses, especially large retail and food chains and other things, are struggling there. And you know what? Without the government, you know what's funny? This is something that every libertarian out there is going to use as a talking point. Trust me, I've voted for all three parties for presidential elections, so I understand the platforms a lot. One thing is that people who've always fought against the government, the Fed, raising the minimum wage, is they said the government shouldn't be involved. You should let the market decide for you. And the counter argument to that was, yeah, but the market would go back to slave labor if they could. And then everybody was like, well, no, people will just stop working if they don't get treated right. And then people were like, no, they won't. They have to survive. So it's very strange and very unique, but it's actually the market doing it for once. And what's happening is all those people are exiting the workforce. And now these corporations don't have employees. And they're losing millions and millions and trillions, billions of dollars. So now they're having to compete for the worker, and the worker's not having to compete for them. I'm not talking about skilled jobs. I'm not talking about like IT and C-level executives and engineers and doctors and scientists. Not that. I'm talking about low skilled or low entry level jobs. So what's happening is now these companies are having to compete. They're having the market to compete with each other to bring in labor, which is causing benefits to go up and up and up and up. That's great if we can fill that gap that we have right now of people returning to the workforce because of this. But if we don't return to the workforce, because you might be seeing, hey, Stocky, the unemployment's the lowest it's been in 20 years. That's because it doesn't count people that have left the workforce. You have 15 million people that just left the workforce. They don't count for unemployment. That's not how these stats work. So when you hear somebody give you the argument, whether it doesn't matter what political spectrum they're on, well, unemployment's super low right now. Yeah, because everybody left work. 2 million people retired early. There's a shitload of people on the thing. Well, it's just people wanting to sit on the couch and make more money than they would if they were working. Yeah, that's actually true in some cases. Now, the question is that because they're lazy, or is that because they are waiting for a better opportunity in the workforce? I'm not here to decide that for you. I'm not a political streamer. I'm just telling you where the money is. Inflation hasn't even fully hit us yet, because there's 2 points to the inflation that we have right now. You have inflation for monetary reasons, and you have inflation for supply and demand reasons. The supply and demand one is one that scares me the most, because that's about bottlenecks on supply chains. What do I mean? Well, number one, we're bottlenecked, we're backed up on the supply chain. But number two, demand, supply, and demand, right? What are we looking at with supply and demand? Think about a cargo ship. You own a cargo ship. And the USS Hairline. There you go. Wait, that means it'll probably sink. Never mind. The USS Hairline. And 2 years ago, Dollar Tree wanted a giant container full of household cleaning products, duct tape, rope, trash bags, and I don't know, hatchets or something. I don't know, just some random mix of stuff. And they needed to ship it to themselves, right? They needed to ship it. Well, they would call the shipping company and say, hey, I need you to go to China and pick this up and give me a full container of this. And the captain of the USS Hairline, or the company that owns it, would say, sure, cost you $10,000 for a space on my ship. We'll get it to you in 4 days. Done. Do that times a couple hundred containers. Pretty good business. Well, now we're in a situation where everyone needs stuff because everyone's home. People have more money than ever before. Why? Well, unemployment benefits were enhanced. People were at home. People had more money. People were bored. People were spending. We saw personal income high. We saw consumer spending high. We saw all those numbers high. And so what ends up happening is everyone is trying to fight everyone else for space. because there's just not enough space. Not only do you have lockdowns and you have supply chains. So think of it like a hose, right? We talked about it before. Think of the supply chain like a hose, okay? You've got a hose, and you turn on the hose, the water flows, and it goes, right? That is your supply chain from China to the US. All of a sudden, COVID happens, and you've got a kink in the hose. When that first happens, you're not even going to notice it happen because all this water is still traveling. That's all of the supply chain. And it keeps happening. You're good. Everything's fine through 2020. Everything's fine through 2020. And all of a sudden, now it catches up. And like, oh shit, there's no water. And even when you get this going again, it still takes time for that water to start flowing to reach back to where it was. That is a supply chain disruption, right? It's an effect. It's not an immediate thing. And that's if you don't have new kinks, new viruses, right? Or new shutdowns or new lockdowns. So in this case, they knew that this was a demand. So they basically did a bidding war. And they said, hey, you guys at Home Depot, you guys at Walmart, you guys at Costco, you guys at Dollar Tree, yeah. There's a lot of people that want space on here. We're kind of limited. So, yeah, it's going to be $20,000 per container. Wait, what? Yeah, 20,000. Take it or leave it because I've got, Jim Bob's barbecue brisket sauce, Tractor Supply Company, and John Deere. They need to get some stuff over here too. So it's either this or that. You know what you're going to do? All right, fuck it. We're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. We'll just take the PPP loans that we stole. That we rightfully used. And we'll go ahead and pay it. So now it's $20,000. And these guys are like, hell yeah, it is. And they're making their money. Well, what happens in the world? Do you think the big business is going to eat that cost? They might in the short term. Chipotle did that. Chipotle did that during this is why Chipotle's stock. You might be saying to yourself, wait a second, Stocky, Chipotle stock's $3,000? What the hell? How? Well, Chipotle was smart. Let me tell you something. For those of you guys that are business people out there, sometimes it's smart to eat it early. Okay, and I'll tell you why. Chipotle did this thing during the pandemic when they were delivering, where Chipotle basically, I'm not sponsored by Chipotle, but if they want to sponsor me, I'm cool. I saw you. Hey, listen, if Chipotle will sponsor S-Fan, they'll sponsor anyone. So Chipotle, get at me. So Chipotle basically did this thing where they were doing deliveries, right? But what did they do to undercut their competition? They basically charged either no delivery fee or $1 delivery fee. They ate the delivery costs. Why did they take that loss? Because of customer loyalty, right? They keep the sales going, they keep people going, they keep food going. And then when the pandemic's over, people are already used to it, they continue to buy. Plus they're adding Chipotlane, which is basically the drive-through touchless version. So they ate the cost and they lost a lot of money, but looking down the path, fucking genius move. Genius move. All right, who do you think's gonna eat that cost, that extra $10,000 per container? The consumer. You. Because that business, for the most part, will only eat that cost for so long. But if they think that supply chain is going to continue to get wrecked down the road, they're going to pass that on to you. So remember what we talked about earlier about two types of inflation: the monetary, right? The belief that there's just going to be too much money in circulation, and the supply and demand side. So when the Fed said transitory, I don't know if they believed this or they were being vague for a reason, but everybody believed that it was going to be like this because our normal inflation rate is around 2.5%. Bullshit, sorry. It's around 2.5% per year. Why do you think employers generally give a 3% raise per year? You ever thought about that? You ever wondered where we got that number for your salary increase every year? Anybody ever wonder where that came from? Because generally, inflation will run between 2 to 3%. It's considered a cost of living. This year, we've seen the largest increase in inflation, the largest sustained increase of inflation since George H.W. Bush was president. A lot of you guys watching right now weren't even alive when that happened. Okay? We're sitting at around 6%. Could be higher, could be lower. Also depends on how you calculate the numbers. I care about needs versus wants, but I don't care about used car sales, and I don't care about, stuff like that. I look at food, medical supplies, household goods. That's what matters to me. Around 6%. So that's why I tell you guys, and not to be an ass, not to sound bad, but if you didn't get at least 6% raise this past year at your job, you took a pay cut. This is what everybody thought transitory was going to mean. This is what it's done. How do we combat that? Well, we got to rip the Band-Aid off. Tapering those purchases, those IOUs with the government, and raising interest rates so that there's less money being borrowed and put out there. But if everyone's not back to work, now you got a problem because you're not going to make up that loss in spending from people getting cheap money by people making more money by working and paying taxes and buying things. you got yourself a little problem. This is not FUD. I am not telling you the market's going to crash or the economy's doomed or anything like that. Money and taxes, and it's all just a facade. Okay, that's how it works. I'm just telling you that why we're in this situation that we're in at the current moment. Okay, where will shipping companies go? Will they just fall off when all eases up again? No, they won't fall off. They'll normalize. But these shipping companies and logistic companies are doing great. But here's the problem: at some point, even these guys. I mean, do you remember a few weeks ago or a few months ago when those videos came where the Long Beach dock, right, where all of the ships come in California, and you know those big cranes that offload all of those there were like 100 ships just floating out there. Because they didn't have any workers to offload it. Now, why don't they have any workers to offload it? Same thing. We're having people not working because of whether you believe it's because they're getting too much government money and they're lazy, or you believe it's because they want better working salaries, or because they have to take care of their family, or they have kids at home. Whatever your political leaning or whatever your belief is, we didn't have the people. But more importantly, it's not even those people. We've run out of truckers. This is another supply chain issue. Why have we run out of truckers? Well, let's talk about it. We've run out of truckers because when COVID hit and everybody went home and people stopped buying for a while when everybody was hunkering down, they thought, well, we don't need them. So they got laid off or furloughed, just like with airline associates. They retired early. Then all of a sudden there's this massive increase of demand. Well, we don't have any truckers. We're getting them back, but now what happens is, not politics, I'm just telling you what we're seeing, and this is directly from the truckers union and the presidency and everything like that, so please understand where I'm coming from, guys. The White House basically did a mandate that private businesses, the federal has to have vaccines, but that private businesses with over 100 employees have to have mandatory vaccines or weekly testing, right? Well, there are a couple groups of people in this country who are very, don't tread on me, you know, not government can't force me what to put in my body, you know, belief system. Whether you agree with them or disagree with them, there is that portion of the population. And one of the biggest groups in that, one of the biggest sections of that group is truckers, right? Because driving is the number one employment type in America, whether it's through trucking, whether it's through delivery, whether it's through Uber, whether it's through taxis, whether it's through whatever. Number one employer in America is driving. So they basically told them, hey, you have to get everybody vaxxed. Well, truckers are like, I ain't doing that. And then the White House goes, oh shit, this is a problem because we need these guys to get stuff through the holiday season, because let me tell you something about how politics work. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle, what election it is, the number one most important thing to voters is the economy. Gas prices and when is little Timmy's Christmas toys getting here. Okay? So the White House met with them and said, hey, we're still going to do this. We're going to push it off till January so you guys can get that. A lot of truckers are quitting. So what did the White House say? They've got to decide if they're going to exempt the truckers, number one. And if they do, where's that going to fall everybody else? Two, there's a Supreme Court that's already, the federal court in Louisiana is going to take up the hearing on if this is unconstitutional or not. And number three, they've said that they're possibly talking about using the National Guard. That's a whole nother rabbit hole to do, because the National Guard can't be called up by the feds unless there's a time of emergency. Are they going to enact emergency powers for this? I doubt it. And if they ask for individual states to have the National Guard drive trucks, then that's going to be very interesting, because you're going to have states that are red that are going to say, fuck you. And then you're going to have blue states that are going to be like, yeah, we'll help. But then what are you going to do? If you're in, I don't know, let's think of, I don't know, fucking Tennessee and North Carolina, right? Just for example. Okay, just for example. Let's say Tennessee or North Carolina that comes into the port here and they say, yeah, we got the National Guard, we'll drive trucks. Hey, but we can't cross state lines. Hey, Tennessee, can your guys pick this up here? You can go fuck yourself. Well, now we got to drive up to Virginia. All right, West Virginia, can we? You can suck on some coal. All right, fuck it. Let's go up to Maryland. All right, Maryland. All right, we're going to go over, and we're going to go over to, let's go to Ohio. Ohio, yeah, you're kind of cool, but only on the north part, so we're going to do that. Yeah. Oh, shit, we just ran into the breadbasket. So, it is what it is, okay? And it would be the opposite if the other party was in play. Let's go to the Canadians. Hey, can we come across your border? No, we closed your borders, That handles supply chain issues. Now we have lockdowns. Now we have travel, international travel. There's a lot going on, guys. This is not as simple as some people in the media would make you think it is. Where am I gonna put this? Let me put this right here. It's not as simple as people in the media make it think it is. Like it's not that easy. It's simply not that easy to just kind of look at this and say, oh, it's as easy as this, or this is how this is going to play out. There's all kinds of things that can happen. And at this point, I mean, look at the market bouncing back right now. I mean, you've got some of the stuff bouncing right now. We've already looked at today earlier, but there's so much going on. So that's why we were watching the Federal Reserve Chairman and the Treasury of the Secretary testifying in front of Congress to answer this stuff down. Wow, that was a whirlwind 20 minutes. I hope somebody learned something in that. My God. Nope. Okay, good.